What's up, y'all? It's Garage Goons, the most trash show on YouTube, and today I just wanted to talk UFC because we haven't done it in a while, and I gotta be honest, I'm more and more of a casual every year that goes by. I just used to buy all the pay-per-views, and now I have, there's only so much time and so much money. You know, I'm married, I got dogs, and I know everyone's like, oh, dumb people pay for pay-per-views, but I never had that much success streaming the shit, so it just is what it is, man. But today I want to talk about Alex Pereira and what the UFC should do with him, because he has already, if you really think about like the landscape of the 205 division, he's beat all the champions, right? All the question marks that we had before, he beat Jan Blachowicz, former champion, narrowly, granted, but it was a win. He beat Yuri Prohaska, champion, and he's trained by Glover Teixeira, so they didn't have to fight, and he just retired. He's beat two of these guys already, and he beat who a lot of people consider to be the 185-pound GOAT in Israel Adesanya, even though they're 1-1, and Izzy ended on a knockout win, which was absolutely fantastic. But I don't think people want to see a third fight, because I think that, I don't know if Pereira can make that weight anymore at 37 years old. And also I just feel like it's kind of already been written. We've gotten two great fights. We don't need a third. And it seems like their career paths are at a juxt, or at a fork in the road, if you will, where Izzy clearly is not built to fight at 205. He has the skill to do it, but his size is not there, and we've already seen that movie before when he fought Jan and just got wrestle fucked, right? So right now, what do we do with Pereira? Well, a lot of guys are saying Jon Jones. I want to see that fight. I think everybody wants to see that fight. The question is, will we see that fight? Because Jon Jones has seen everything. We could go and list off the champions that Jon Jones has executed, meaning guys that have won either before or after they fought Jon. DC, Glover Teixeira, Shogun, Rampage, Loyola Machida. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. He beat Rashad. He's beaten so many champions already. UFC legitimate bona fide champions. And, it kind of was like after DC and him fought twice, it was like, okay, so now what's next? Do we just throw the next best 205 guy at him? I don't think that was ever going to be the right answer. You know what I mean? But he moves up, and he has his eyes set on Stipe. He thinks that, hey, Stipe is going to see me. He's going to know I'm great. He's going to know my accomplishments. He's going to know what I've done for the UFC, the 205-pound division. My name is etched in the history books. Most people have him as GOAT, and if it's not him, some people say Khabib, some people say GSP, some people say Anderson, some people say Demetrius Johnson. He is on the Mount Rushmore. He is one of the top guys ever in the sport. I know there's the cheating thing, so if you're one of those guys that takes him off because he cheated, okay. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but some of your favorite fighters ever just never got caught. There was rampant cheating in the UFC pre-USADA, and here's how you know. If the shorts were not Venom shorts, okay, it was prior to Venom and it was prior to Reebok, they were using whatever, WADA, and guys never got caught. Guys that were clearly on shit were never caught, okay? I'm not going to throw names out there, but he beat everyone, and it didn't matter who he beat. And I honestly don't think that roids or not, or steroids or whatever, that it would have changed too much about Jon Jones's career. I could be completely wrong, but I mean, you look at those genes, and he is an absolute freak. His brothers are both professional football players at the highest level. Jon is just that good. And I think we finally found a guy that he cannot underestimate. This guy is big. He's just as tall as Jon. He's I mean, Jon, I think, has the longest wingspan in the UFC still, but he's basically as long. And the one time we saw Jon go against a world-class kickboxer before he had 5 rounds of tape to go off of, Gustafsson, that was a close fight. A lot of people feel that Gustafsson won that fight. But the one thing I will say and hesitate on with Jones versus Pereira is that Pereira is heavy on his feet. He's a stalker. He comes forward and he's plodding. He walks forward towards you, hands down, and he's just better than you and more powerful and stronger and quicker with his punches. And his shit hurts. Everything he throws hurts. He doesn't throw anything to set up a hurting blow. All of the blows he throws hurts real bad. However, he does stand pretty tall. And one thing I do know from Jon, from just watching and being a fan of Jon all these years, is that Jon, if he sees a guy that's very upright, you know that push kick to the knee is coming. You know, Joe Rogan calls it the oblique kick. I don't agree with that because the oblique's a different muscle. I don't know why he keeps calling it that, but I digress. The push kick to the knee that Jon throws to hyperextend guys' knees, everybody he's fought that he's landed that on with any form of success has said, man, my knee's not been the same. I was limping by the second round. It affected me. There's no way you can tough your way through a compromised knee. If your knee is getting hyperextended 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times around with a minimal effort kick where he just flicks it out there, if he makes contact with your leg, he pushes on it and then it collapses. That is a big factor that Pereira hasn't had to deal with. And frankly, everyone that's fought Jon Jones hasn't had an answer for. There's been no guy I've seen that says, okay, we know Jon's going to do this, so therefore I'm going to do this to combat that. Nobody's figured it out. Nobody in fighting has figured out how to deal with that kick. And it seems so innocuous because the kick isn't sexy. There's not a big thud sound to it. There's not red marks that come immediately after. There's no swelling or bruising. All he's doing is attacking your small ligaments and stuff in your knee. So while I do want to see that fight, I think there's a better one. And no, it's not Ankalaev. Sorry, I just don't want to see it. I think it's going to be a boring fight. I think everyone knows Alex Pereira is going to try to knock him out, and Ankalaev is going to try to take him down. And if Ankalaev wins, do we really want Ankalaev as the 205-pound champ? Like, it was hard enough watching guys like Yuri Prohaska have the 205-pound strap, and he actually knocks people out. Ankalaev just wants to get on top of you and smush you. And yeah, he might get knockouts, but it's just because he's doing ground and pound. He is basically the 2024 version of Tito Ortiz, if we're just being honest. Do you want that as champ? And by the way, even though Tito's an absolute idiot and can't form a sentence, he attempts to talk shit and he's pretty entertaining. Like the burying of Ken Shamrock after he beat him, like that was hilarious, bro. I don't care what anybody says. I don't know if we want Ankalaev to be a 205-pound guy because he's not funny like Khabib. He's not explosive like Islam. He's just so good at wrestling. And yes, that's a test that we don't know for sure that Pereira can pass. We don't know. But you know who would give him all of the tests? Okay? It's Tom Aspinall. It answers all of the questions. Jon has been very clear. I'm waiting for Stipe. Stipe is the number 1 heavyweight all time. He is the heavyweight GOAT in his opinion. He has accomplished the most. He has beat the most champs. He's had the longest UFC run. His hit list is great. I want Stipe. That's all I want. And he hasn't said this flat out, but it kind of feels like he's going to go off with the Stipe fight. And if he wins, which I think he will, right off into the sunset and retire. And if that's what Jon wants to do, Jon has earned every right from fighting, that is. Because outside the cage, he's just can't stop making bad decisions and showing that he has a darkness in him that needs to be addressed legally and psychiatrically, if that's even a word, but that's another story for another time. If he only wants to fight Stipe, and that's the only fight he will do, the only way you can force Jon Jones, who is injured and healing, to say, you know what, forget this, I'm not going to fight Stipe, is if Alex Pereira, who you can make an argument right now, already, today, is the second best light heavyweight all time. No offense to DC. No offense to, pick your light heavyweight favorite, Chuck Liddell, No offense to the legend of 205, which to me is the best division all time ever in all combat sports. The 205-pound UFC champion is always the premier champion, in my opinion. The heavyweights were a little too slow, sometimes too boring, sometimes they gas out. It wasn't always fun to watch. The lighter weights, some of those guys, they can't hit, they got pillow hands. 170 pounds, the belt changes all the time. We've had very few dominant champions, like George St. Pierre is the only one at 170, maybe Kamaru Usman after that, but it's changed hands too often. We haven't had a guy long enough, really, outside of George St. Pierre, to really go on a run and be in that conversation. But 205 pounds has always been the premier division. But I don't think that after Jon's done all that lifting that he's going to want to go down and fight Pereira. What's in it for him? If he never fights at 205 again, he's the 205 GOAT. I don't care who Pereira beats at 205. Okay? It won't match up to the Jon Jones 205 because there was the most champions in the division at the time that Jon Jones fought, so he was able to beat the most legends in the division. Period. So when we consider these things, if Pereira beats Tom Aspinal at heavyweight, imagine it, he moves up. Tom Aspinal is not a world-class wrestler the way that we think of world-class wrestlers, but he gets guys to the ground when he wants to, and he's a black belt, not for nothing, he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's his base. That's how he started, even though we think of him as this really clean, good, powerful striker. I think he presents just as many problems for Pereira as Ankalaev, but it's a more exciting fight. And then, if Stipe and Johns are still playing Ring Around the Rosie, still playing patty cake, can't get a date going, can't do this, can't do that, can't get anything going, and there is still that big question mark of, do we really have the best heavyweight in the world at this division right now? Because Francis Ngannou, let's not forget, left after he murdered everyone in the division. There is a way to get people to really force that fight to happen. And I think it's Pereira versus Aspinal. There's June bugs in here and it's almost August. That's crazy. Pereira versus Aspinal is interesting. I think that's the fight I want to see next. And hey, they line that fight up. The winner of that automatically gets the winner or whatever of the Jon Jones versus Stipe fight, if we ever get it. But people want to see heavyweight fights. They want to see it for belts, and they don't want to wait any longer. So here we are. I think that's the move. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments. Do you want to see more of these UFC videos? Do you want to see more fight videos? I'm open to your guys' suggestions. It's the most trash show on YouTube. Garage Goons. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, and we out of this. Peace.